certain topic of a symposium is announced, uh, it may give an impression to the audience that that is the area in which that organization works. For example, looking at the topic Brahmins, Brahmanical, and Brahmanism, it may give an impression that Indica talks about this kind of topics. But for the information of the those audience who may not know, this is one of the symposiums after a very long series of symposiums that Indica has organized. Indica has organized several conferences and symposiums. These are two different formats. In conferences, we send out a call for papers, and scholars send their abstracts. We select some of those proposals, and then the selected speakers come and present their papers. These conferences are of two types. We have conferences which are physical. We conduct the conference at a certain place. All the participants come to that place anywhere in India. Or there are online conferences also. These online conferences took place during COVID pandemic only. But before and after COVID pandemic, all the conferences have been physical conferences. And Indica, because of the innovative mindset of our founder, Sri Harikiran Vadlamani Garu, created a unique format of conference called Tirthayatra Connected Conference, Tirthayatra Mixed Conference. All the conferences have been conducted later to this idea at a Tirtha, a particular sacred shrine, and the conference participants are taken to the Tirthayatra to that place. And symposium is another format in which only invited speakers give their talks. This is a symposium. Today's event is a symposium. Invited speakers are going to give their talks. Our conference topics have been from mindfulness to Hindu aesthetics, Hindu architecture, and so on. Almost around 26 such topics have been taken up. Various strands of Hindu tradition like Shaivism, Vaishnavism, Tantra, all these strands of Hinduism, including Jainism. Recently, we had a conference on Jainism at Jodhpur. All these conferences have been conducted. And symposiums also, we have different platforms of Indica. All these other platforms of Indica also have been conducting symposiums. For example, Indica Yoga conducted some symposiums, Indica Moksha conducted some, and there is one Center for Bharatiya Languages. Even under that, we conducted several symposiums on the direct Indica platform itself. Already the number of symposiums is reaching around 30. So this particular symposium, the present symposium, is only a part of such a huge number of symposiums that we have already organized. So this particular topic, Brahmin, Brahmanical, and Brahmanism, Indological origins and its impact, has it is only a part of a huge series of conferences, symposiums, retreats, workshops, courses, and other activities that Indica is organizing. So the impression that it may give that Indica organizes every time. For example, if you are organizing a symposium or a conference on Hindu aesthetics, it may give an impression that okay, Indica is an organization interested in aesthetics only. So if we organize a conference on Shaivism, for example, we organized it with Varanasi, that may give an impression to the people interested in Shaivism that oh, these people are interested in Shaivism. But in that conference itself, we announced that we are going to organize a conference on Vaishnavism also, and Tantra, Shaktiya tradition and Tantra tradition also. And we uh, actually organized those conferences also. Vaishnavism conference and Tantra Shaktiya conference also were later organized. And we organized a conference on Jainism. So, and our symposiums were a very good number of those symposiums were on Shastra topics. For example, on Vada, there was a symposium. On Samvada, also there was a symposium. And the symposiums organized by Indica Moksha were on Vachaspati Mishra, Vidyaranya, and all such great scholars who have contributed through their polymath scholarship and their achievements in several different ways. So this symposium is just one of those huge number of conferences and symposiums covering a wide range of topics. Um, the topics may go even to binary gender, for example. Non-binary gender was one of the topics. The conference was conducted at IGNCA. Even that conference was organized by Indica. So within those wide range of topics, this particular topic has been chosen. And as you can understand, this symposium is not about uh, how Brahmins are faring, how Brahmins are behaving, or how Brahmins are facing problems, what are the problems faced by Brahmins, uh, what is happening to Brahmins. No, this is not a conference about the Brahmin community or Brahmin Jati. This is a symposium focusing on a specific academic topic of vocabulary only. There is a word Brahmin, there is another word Brahmanical, and the third word chosen is Brahmanism. These three are in vogue in English only. So the focus is on that English communication only. But through that, it has reached Indian languages also. This from the discourse where these words have been created and used and uh, received several semantic changes, conscious and unconscious semantic changes. What was the impact of such semantic developments around these words? Uh, and how it has impacted the community will also be focused, but only from that perspective. What is the impact of such a semantic uh, activity that has taken place specifically from the colonial times? We are not focusing on, for example, the words related to Brahmins that were used in Vedic times or Upanishadic times. If we are focusing on the use of the words during Vedic times or Upanishadic times also, the focus is on how those words used during the Vedic times and Upanishadic times have been dealt by the contemporary academics, colonial, British time, missionary time academics. Focus is on not the use of the word Brahmin in the Itihasa times, for example. Focus on, for example, Dr. Sushumna Kannan is going to talk about uh, the depiction of Brahmin in Mahabharata, taking very specific cases. Mahabharata, as you know, is such a huge Itihasa, so she will not be focusing on the entire Itihasa. She will be focusing only on certain cases, certain episodes, certain descriptions. And one of her main specialities is dealing with contemporary feminism. And in contemporary feminism, as you all know, a word is floating. Brahmanical patriarchy is a word that is floating in contemporary India-related feminism, and particular probably in global feminism also. And this word rose to prominence when some people took pictures along with the uh, owner of Twitter, and they uh, flashed those pictures. There was this placard called Brahmanical Patriarchy. And in that, the word patriarchy uh, is globally used feminist word. But adding Brahmanical as an adjective, that makes that word relevant to our symposium today. Because uh, if we trace the origin of this word Brahmanical uh, from the modern times, the word originally was not used in such a derogatory sense in which this Brahmanical patriarchy compound word is using it. Originally, the word Brahmanical was used by the early Indological scholars to distinguish Vedic from non-Vedic. For example, to distinguish Vedic literature or Vedic scriptures or anything Vedic from Buddhist or Jain or such sources, they somehow chose the word Brahmanical, and many people were using the word Brahmanical. From inside, the word used for in such context was Vaidika, and the others were called Avaidika. And in Sarvadarshana Sangraha, the word used was Astika. And for the others, like Buddhist and Jain, the word used was Nastika. If the Indology scholars chose to use the insider word, they would have used Vedic only. They could have used it. They could have said Vedic. But my hunch is that they had a certain notion of the word Vedic. The word Vedic for them was, they thought that it would refer only to what is there in the core mantras of Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana Veda. So that is Vedic for them. So to distinguish that from the general Vaidika, the broader sense of Vaidika that insiders of Indic traditions and Hindu traditions use, probably they coined a word Brahmanical. And for them, that had no derogatory sense. It was only a category, a classificational category to distinguish from Buddhist, Jain, and other traditions. But surprisingly, gradually, when people wanted to say something related to Brahmin, they uncritically, unacademically, without actually referring to the early sources, how they used, they started using the word in a very loose sense. The word Brahmanical patriarchy is such a loose use of the word, because Brahmanical, uh, the way it was used in the early Indological literature is not the sense in which it is being used in the word Brahmanical patriarchy. In the same way, uh, we have today two scholars, Sri Srinivas Udumudi Garu and Sri Arvind Iyer Garu. Both these scholars are dealing with Buddhism related Indological discussions. How the word Brahmanical or Brahmin or Brahmanism was used by these Indological scholars how actually originally inside the literature, inside the Buddhist literature, for example, how they were focusing on the issue of Brahmin or Brahmana or Vipra. For example, the word used by uh, in Tipitakas, one of the major Buddhist texts of early Buddha times, there is a section called Vipodhikara. That Vipo there is a Prakrit word uh, coming from the word Vipra. So they used Vipo there. And there are many other such words which were used in Buddhist texts in reference to Brahmins. And they were dealing with the issue of Brahmin in the Buddhist texts. These two scholars, Arvind Iyer Garu and Srinivas Udumudi Garu, will be looking at both these aspects of how those texts actually are dealing with the question of Brahmin from their point of view, whether the Indological literature uh, that is dealing with these Buddhist texts is doing any justice to the way the issue of Brahmin was dealt with in these Buddhist texts. One major problem that arose during the early British scholarship, whether that was intended by those scholars or not, local Indian politics also played a big role in creating a huge schism between Buddhist and uh, Brahmin uh, worlds. A situation was created, an understanding was created as though Buddhism is an anti-Brahmin tradition. And gradually, what happens in such loose work, these are not even academic works. They may appear to be academic. Gradually, they come into political discussions. They become discussions of gossip and they become the part of a general public lore, public discussion. So ultimately, what they do is they create an impression that the very origin of Buddhism was for the purpose of becoming anti-Brahmin. That becomes, so it goes to such an extreme exaggeration. So whether that is true, actually people went to such an extent that they created a story, a narrative called there was a Kshatriya Brahmin conflict, and Buddhism was created out of that Kshatriya claims. And Buddhism is a Kshatriya originating movement as against the Brahmins. So, all this, whether it is true or not, can be understood only when we deal with the actual texts of Buddhism. Uh, whether for example, the present traditional Buddhists of whether Mahayana, Vajrayana, Theravada, or any other tradition, are they so much obsessed by this Brahmin topic? Uh, for example, if you go to Japanese Buddhists, will they be talking about Brahmin there or in Sri Lanka or Southeast Asian countries or the Tibetan Buddhist monks who are taking shelter in India? Will they be so much obsessed with the topic of Brahmin? All this has to be dealt with, and we have to discuss about this. And another topic that is going to be discussed is two scholars, Sahishnu Bhattacharya ji and Tirthendu Ganguly ji. They are doing a very rigorous terminology semantics discussion from a very contemporary perspective about the terms itself, about how the terminological manipulation has been done and how we in India failed to deal with the manipulation that was done by these scholars in a very rigorous way. Both these scholars are going to deal with the terminology as such. And coming to the various strands of use of this word Brahmin, Brahmanical and Brahmanism, one very important section is the missionary use. The uh, Christian missionary activity that started during the uh, British time, it was specifically targeting Brahmins, comes out from that missionary literature, missionary documents, missionary statements. That is an important topic of why, for example, if a certain religion from outside comes and targets for conversion a certain country, this country is has many other communities, jatis, kulas, castes, other than Brahmins. And for example, if we look at the missionary documents from South India and think about this particular issue, the surprise would be that Brahmins are such a small percentage here. Population wise, demography wise, it's a very small population. But they focus on that particular jati, targeting, countering, attacking in the missionary documents surprises people because what from a demographic point of view, this is a surprising question. Why they should target such a minuscule minority community? What was the reason behind this? One paper by Shri Prabhav is going to focus on that. And the one word anti-Brahminism, this is not the word uh, used by the Indologists or missionaries or the movements working against Brahminical Brahmanism kind of things. The word is used by those who actually focus on the impact of this literature. This is a word, anti-Brahmanism, and there is another word, Brahmophobia, that is going to be used by Sri Mahalingam Balaji ji. That word, Brahmophobia and anti-Brahmanism. These words are the words used by those who are dealing with the issue. They created these words and they have been using these words. Brahmophobia is a very recent word, very recent. But anti-Brahmanism has been used from decades, if not from more than a century. There has been actually anti-Brahmanism, a particular tendency. And this anti-Brahmanism, though has its origins in Indological literature uh, from the Indological scholars, uh, is not limited to them. It is now part of contemporary Indian sociological and political movements. One of such movements is the Dravidian movement of Tamil Nadu. The word Dravidian itself is an English word. Dravida was the traditional Sanskrit word. Dravida, the word was used only in reference to Tamil language, Tamil culture, and Tamil land. But the uh, British time linguistic scholars, philological scholars like Bishop Caldwell, created an English word Dravidian uh, to refer to an entire concept called family of languages. They created out of their philology a concept called family of languages. This concept of family of languages was already there. It was used in reference to a language family called Indo-European family of languages. So, following that model, Bishop Caldwell created a Dravidian family of languages, and that is now prevalent in the word is prevalent in Tamil Nadu though they use the word in that sense that there is something called Dravidian, and that was pitched against another created word called Aryan. And this word Aryan is actually came into vogue during that time so much that it became part of the world politics. They started using the word in the context of German nationalism also, and that became part of global discussion at that time. And that is the reason why the word got demonized also, because it had a usage, though very limited, but because it had a usage during Second World War time, global politics, the word got very much demonized. And because of pitching of the word Dravidian against Aryan, very interestingly, some of the uh, Brahmin claiming Brahmin investors themselves, say for example in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they started claiming the word as their word, as a word referring to them. So uh, they actually participated in making the word Aryan limited to be referring to the Brahmins only. For example, there is Arya Bhavan and Arya Hotel, Arya name in the hotel names. So that continues even today. That continues. So, and another such usage is in Arya Samaj, the name of a particular uh, contemporary Hindu movement called Arya Samaj. But that there they did not use the word in the sense of Brahmins. That is interesting. That is why I titled my talk as a maze. This is a maze. You would never understand in which sense the word moves from where to where. For Arya Samaj, the word Arya is not Brahmins, but for Tamil politics, the word is Brahmin. And our Shankara Narayana Garu, who has a pen name called Jatayu, he is going to talk about this Dravidian politics and how anti-Brahminism originated in Tamil politics, and how they use not just these English words, Brahmin, Brahmanical, and Brahminism, but they use their own Tamil usages, created Tamil usages to target Brahmins, and how an entire local regional Indian language vocabulary got created there. This is an interesting topic, actually, though we can have an entire 1 week long symposium to cover all the Indian languages. This happened in almost all Indian languages, not limited to Tamil Nadu. In every Indian region, in the local Indian languages, through these movements working in a pejorative sense, in a negative sense towards the concept of Brahmin or community of Brahmin, they created their own Bengali, Odia, Telugu, Kannada, Marathi, Gujarati, all these languages, words which have the derogatory sense, a pejorative sense. So there can be an entire symposium on regional language vocabulary that got created out of this kind of pejorative and derogatory ideas, and how they settle. What, why this is significant? This focusing on the vocabulary significant is they build a narrative. For example, our Dr. Ashwini Desai, along with our own MS Chaitra, Dr. MS Chaitra from Chanakya University, these are going to deal with the issue of how all this is part of a narrative building. There is a narrative that comes out of this. This maze of vocabulary, and if a linguist sits down, if a semanticist sits down to do a semantic connection making, map making of origin of a certain word and how it traveled, how it got a phonetic change and a semantic change while traveling from one place to the other, from one source, say Indological source to missionary source, or missionary source to Indological source, Indological source to Dravidianist movement source, or Indological source to Ambedkarite movement source. So when these words travel, if a linguist or a professional philologist or a semanticist sits down to do a mapping of this travel, this definitely becomes a maze. And this entire maze is part of a certain narrative building activity. And when some movements, contemporary movements, did that, they were consciously doing this. There is a conscious manipulation of vocabulary. There is a conscious semantic engineering. This is not limited to the Brahmin-related words. Entire anti-Indic words, anti-Hindu words that are now floating all over the world, they have been semantically so much manipulated consciously with a Goebbels project of repeatedly using a same word in a same sense in different sources where they are powerful, where, for example, in media, they used to be powerful very till recently. Now, a counter narrative is getting built only because there are counter media houses, and also there is a very big social media activity that is coming up from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and other places. Public people got an opportunity to send their voice uh, uh, to the media houses that were dominating at that time. So as long as the academic bodies and media houses with a certain narrative building, ideological slant, ideological bias were monopolizing the entire academic world and media world, this countering with a counter narrative was not happening. That was made use of by these academic circles in social sciences and humanities in India, and in the media houses that were monopolizing the entire media field. The narrative building was happening. So at that time, there was a conscious manipulation, conscious semantic uh, trick that was being played. So there are two within the semantic maze that we are looking. There are two kinds. One is that it happens unconsciously. This some person uses the word in a very neutral sense for a certain purpose, but later it gets a pejoration. Later it gets a negative connotation through usage. Again, that later is also conscious and unconscious. Both kinds are there. And creation of words also has both conscious and unconscious aspects. Change of these words with little phonetic change also has conscious and unconscious aspects. So, with all these classifications of travel of words or creation of words or phonetic changes of words, all these having conscious and unconscious, and all of them having connections among themselves, this study becomes very interesting study. And for a scholar sitting down for such a study, it's a maze, and uh, only clever scholars will be able to actually trace the route within this maze. And we are lucky to have wonderful scholars today who were successful in traveling through this maze and find their roots, and were able to come up with these studies of semantics of the words related to Brahmanical, and Brahmanism, which are very important for uh, the broader study of semantic manipulations and semantic developments around Hinduism, around Hindu culture, Hindu traditions, and uh, Indic traditions, India, Bharat, Bharatiyata, and all that. This is a very crucial key aspect of such a study of semantics related to Bharat, semantics related to Indic traditions. So, because Indica is committed to the protection, promotion, and preservation of Indic traditions, Hindu traditions, uh, Indica thought this to be pertinent study, academic study. So, with that perspective, this conference has been, this symposium has been organized by Indica. So, with this introduction, uh, with this overview, I welcome you all, uh, the audience, learned audience, to join this symposium. There is a Q&A box in the panel in front of you. So if you have any questions, you may type those questions in the Q&A box.